Well, 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 welcome back. For me, you don't know this because you're seeing the episodes when they come out, but for me, this is the seventh conversation today. Never in my wildest imaginations did I think that people would respond to this post the way they have, that they would tell their friends or their spouse or their significant others to sign up to be part of this. Something beautiful is happening in this room. We call it a Zoom room, but I call it a magic room where strangers come together who never even knew each other existed 10 minutes before this time and come together in such beautiful, harmonious ways. And the whole idea of the experiment was always to see, could we be with people that we don't know and find some commonality? What I'm finding is so many of the people, and I don't know if it's just because the people that are responding to me are have likeness of mind with me, but there have been people that haven't had likeness of mind with me, that have come into the room, and there's always something that we find in common, always some place that we have some similarity to. So it's really a joy every time to turn up in the room and have no idea who you're going to see, and then see the people that are in front of me. And today I have the honor of having this lovely lady in front of me right now. Now, what I do know about her in all transparency is that she's the wife of another stranger that I met earlier, Jachym. So I know a little bit more about her. I know that they do some beautiful work together with couples, but I don't know her side of that story. I only know it because I heard it from him. And I love that this is the third couple that has now shown up in the room in separate talks, which is really beautiful because each one of them has their space to say what they feel and they believe. So it is my honor and privilege to welcome Natasha Koo to the program. Natasha, how are you today?
I'm really well. Thank you for setting up this space and holding the space. I feel like you're really here for me right now.
I am completely here for you. I thank you for saying that. It's so easy really to just be there for another person, and yet sometimes we think it's so hard. So, Natasha, because I don't know you and my people may not know you, would you take a minute and tell us who you are and what's important to you?
Hmm. Well, you already know my name. In terms of what I do, I guess I spend most of my time um, working as a relationship coach. If you want to classify me further, I'm a Hong Kong born Canadian
Wow.
who's married to a Swiss man, so that makes things all
makes
messy when someone
makes
asks,
no
"Where are you
sense.
from?" Yeah, and if we were to ask like, "Oh, so I guess you live in Switzerland?" Well, I don't. We're really floating mostly in different places in Asia right now, but we left our Swiss base, I guess, 2 years ago. So I wouldn't say I'm from any specific place right now. Uh, and what's most important to me? I think there's a lot of things that are most important to me. But if you look at it from a day-to-day basis, I think it's just really important to me to express who I am. So I know that's like a that sounds like I'm avoiding your question, but I'm
No.
really not because yeah, I was at a I think it's called Vipassana retreat
Yep.
once
Yep.
where you're meditating pretty much in silence. Sometimes it's guided, so someone is speaking to you, but mostly for you, it's completely silent. And and over the days, you kind of begin to move slower because you're being more aware and you're being more conscious about what it is that you're doing and inside and outside. But then I really struggled towards the end because I wanted to like leap around and dance or sing. And so I realized that being able to have a channel to communicate and to express and show the authenticity within me, that's quite important, makes me healthy.
Yeah, I love that. I remember years and years and years ago, I sat Vipassana. And in those days, the place that I sat in, They put me in a room and they closed the door. They told me they would deliver me food 3 times a day, and that I would be in that room by myself for the weekend or 10 days that I was there. And the first few hours of being in that room, I felt this just ecstatic bliss. I just was so happy to be there, with nothing to disturb me, with no phones, no computers, nothing. And I just sat in that room and I was in just absolute ecstasy. About 6 hours into it, I started to say, wow, I've been here, it seems like a long time. I didn't have my watch, so I didn't know how long I'd been there. And I said, I wonder if anybody's ever going to come here. I wonder if they just locked me in here and I'll never see anybody again. And I started to have all sorts of different thoughts, and I started to get really angry and really mad. And I remember knocking on the door and someone coming and saying, yes, what's wrong? And I said, I'm really upset. And they said, oh, we're so sorry. And they took me to the head of the monastery there. And I sat with him and he said, tell me what's up. What's this? What happened? I said, well, the first few hours were amazing. I thought it was great. And then about 6 or 7 hours into it, I was thinking maybe I was going to get food, or I was thinking somebody was going to come and just check in on me. It doesn't seem like anybody's there. And I just wondered what the hell's going on here. And I started to get mad and I felt like I was abandoned and left alone. And he looked at me and what he said was so simple and so beautiful. He said, Danny, did something change in that room? I said, no. He said, so the temperature was the same, the room was the same, the lighting was the same. I said, yeah, everything was the same. So he said, what changed? I said, well, it's just I've been in there a little bit longer of a time. So he said, okay, so time changes. So time changes. What made you blissful 1 minute and angry the next? I'm going to leave now and let you go back in the room and think about that. Because nothing external happened to make that happen. And what I realized is my meaning that I gave to the event that I was in completely changed, making what was once a blissful moment a terrible moment. And I decided, hey, I can just have blissful moments all the time. Why not go for those? I haven't thought about that story in a long time, so thank you for reminding me of it. What makes you happy?
Too many things. Oh, the stupidest things.
Okay.
I know you just shared a really deep experience, but
I love
what's
this.
been what's been cracking me up lately is I'll put on Kermit the Frog, him singing Rainbow Connection. It's great. But that's just one of the things. So many things make me happy. I don't want to list out, a bunch of things that are like my preferences
Yeah.
or when things go my way, because like, I mean, there are infinite examples of how certain things align in your life, right? I don't think that's really the point, but at the same time, the answer is that there are so many things that do make me happy. So
So
the
go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah, so like the range would seem kind of random. You
So
go
I
from Kermit the Frog to, I don't know, getting along with my mom to being with Jachym, and it sounded like a crazy mess.
yeah. So go underneath all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a thread that connects all of them from some place that is actually more central and less random than you think? And the answer can be easily no. But it'd be
Uh-huh.
interesting to know if there is.
Yeah. I think mostly whatever it is that I'm experiencing in that moment, there's a feeling that I'm in the right place. So it just feels right.
Yeah.
Hmm. That would be it, I think.
I love that. I love that. If money weren't an option, if you could have all the money in the world and you didn't have to do what you do for money, what would you do?
I think something very similar. I would definitely be helping people. And I when I work with people, I always go from the emotional side. I know that Jachym works, my husband works very differently from me, completely
Yeah.
differently. But for me, it doesn't matter how much the person I'm with, doesn't matter the exact content or context of what they're going through, but if as long as I can come from a place with enough compassion and understanding, then it's like there's a window where I can have this conversation. And from the conversation, it's as if the person feels safe. And then something begins to unknot itself. So
Yeah.
something that was really tight before is able to just let go a little bit. And I think it always starts from empathy on my part. So when was this? I forget the year, but I switched careers actually, like majorly.
Hmm.
I studied environment and business because I thought that, I can save the world. So I thought I'd save the world through what would you call it, like market solutions
Yeah.
to help the planet and also to help human beings. But over time, that became somewhat of a challenge to align my goals, those goals, and saving the world goals, to an actual organization that had a pure intention and not just doing that for marketing's sake.
Yeah.
But then I came across my n- natural talent of feeling people, like really
Yeah.
feeling people. There was one scenario, if I could share it, where I was teaching yoga with somebody. It was just one lady, and she was complaining about her shoulder. So I recently learned from Jachym's teacher, because he hired a lady from the UK to come over and show us this energy stuff.
Yeah.
And I was the most skeptical. I thought he was wasting his time, he was wasting his money, and this is all just like I don't know what it was, something that wasn't real. And when she came, I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. It's as if I'm remembering something that I've forgotten. It's
Yeah.
as if I was remembering something that I once knew already. So, anyways, back to this yoga class and this lady in front of me. And she's like, oh, I think it's CrossFit. And I just had a feeling within me, I don't think it's CrossFit. So I just said to her, I was like, oh, I'm learning this new thing. Why don't you lie down and could take a look at it? And maybe it could help. And just so she would have it, she said, yeah, okay.
Wow.
So she lied down on a yoga mat, and in back then I would follow my hands, as in
Yeah.
my hands would guide me to whatever area in her body that felt like there was stuff going on. So I wouldn't even physically touch her. You don't need to touch the person to do this. So I was first at her shoulder because that's where she said she had issues. But then quite quickly I went to the center of her chest. So I hovered above her chest. And I was just going, what's going on here? Trying to feel for something. And then suddenly I felt this pain shoot up my left arm without touching her. It
Yeah.
shot up my left arm, and it hurt so much that I said, ow, out loud. And I just looked at her and I said, does something happen in your personal life? And when this happens, I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The words come. So I just asked her, and she just looked at me. She's like, yeah, I recently broke up with my boyfriend. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was doing that to help her with her shoulders. So I was like, what's going on? So that was the first moment where there was evidence that I was feeling something and
Yeah.
that I wasn't going crazy. So I think that was the beginning of me connecting to something where it's natural for me to connect to someone. It's it's natural for me to tune into kind of their emotional pain or what's going on emotionally, and then to kind of help them through that. So I think because I was really touched by this experience myself too, it
Yeah.
came as such a surprise that from that moment on, I really shifted my whole life towards, well, if I have this knack, then I don't want to waste it. If I can feel people so deeply without them even communicating to me consciously what's going on,
Yeah.
I don't want to waste it. I feel like I can do something with it. So that's what I would keep doing with my life. I don't necessarily have to hover over people, but I'm just sharing kind of that pivotal moment where, oh,
Yeah.
I realize there's a connection with anyone.
I want to ask the people listening right now, can you feel Natasha just through the resonance of her voice? Can you feel her just from the heart that she's showing up as, whether you're listening to her words, understanding her words, agreeing with her words or not? It doesn't really matter. I want you to focus your energy now on just feeling her, because I'm an empath. What she's talking about is what I do begrudgingly most of my life. But I'm taking away the begrudgingly part of it because it's just what happens. And when we open ourselves up and just love another human being, and what I'm really asking you is, can you feel her loving you right now? Without, she may not even know she's doing it, but can you feel the love coming through her? And can you feel it touching you? That love changes us, not because she's fixing us, not because she's helping us, not because she's trying to change us, but I watch it in my own life. When two souls come together, what doesn't belong has to fall off so that the two can occupy the one space. And when what doesn't belong in me and what doesn't belong in you, right now for Natasha and I, what doesn't belong in either one of us falls off, and what does belong, and we connect, magic happens. And it's not because one of us is fixing the other or changing each other. It's just the simple magic that happens when two people come together into one space, or when 100 people come together in one space, or 1,000. And so, as you're listening to this interview and as you're hearing what Natasha's saying, think about it, feel it. If there's something that you've been holding on to and can't get rid of, why not contact her? She'll leave her information here, and let her just sit with you. My wife does it. I do it. Natasha does it. I bet Joachim does it too. But I want you to also go back and listen to Joachim's conversation. Completely different, but still the same. Their energies are so different and so the same. It's so interesting to see. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah.
The expression is
The
different.
expression is different. Exactly. Exactly. Let's play a little lightning round. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Dog,
Coffee or tea?
tea,
Would you say you're a person that's in the box or out of the box?
probably out of the box.
I know both of these are really important, and I know it's sometimes hard for people to choose, but I want to know in this moment in time, right now, what's more important for you? Is it more important for you to have a platform given to you where you can speak and other people can hear what it is you have to say? Or is it more important for you to hold the space for other people to speak and you listen to them so that they feel heard?
The second one.
Okay. Do you feel that you fit into the world, or do you feel different?
I fit into. I was about to say my world.
So if you fit into your world, which is that now? Do you
I
fit
would
into the
say,
world at large?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I had one woman answer it, which I love. She said, "Oh, I fit totally." And I looked at her, my eyebrows raised up, and she said, "Yeah, but it's a world of misfits, so I fit into a world where nobody
yeah,
fits in."
yeah.
I love that answer. I think I know the answer to this question, but does your head rule your life, or does your heart rule your life?
Definitely my heart. Not
Yeah,
always, but right now, my heart.
yeah, you can feel it. Would you say you're a leader or a follower?
Depending on the moment, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, you're allowed to say anything you want.
Yeah, yeah.
How are the propensity of moments spent? Like, I understand that in a given situation you might lead or follow,
Yes.
but how do you define yourself in general?
And the question was, are you? Is that, are
Are
you
you a
a.
leader or do you believe you are a leader or a follower?
Mm-hmm. I'm a leader.
So, can I ask a caveat onto that question? And I don't know how things are where you guys are, but America is a mess right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We're having what used to be the most important issue for us was the Me Too movement, where men were asked to look at the way they treat women, and we saw that some of our habit patterns, some of the things we grew up with, were just quite frankly obscene. It wasn't right what we were doing. I also hope in that period of time, and I may get in trouble from people for saying this, but I also hope that women have taken some time to look at the way they treat men in power also. So I think to whatever willingness we have to accept responsibility for our actions, we're to have look at the way we are with male female relationships. Then COVID-19 hit, and suddenly the world, all around the world, we were put on pause. The whole world stopped. I don't ever remember a moment in history where that happened.
mm-hmm,
And that became a huge thing for us. We didn't know what was going on. We still don't know. In America, it looked like it was getting better. Now it seems like it's getting worse again. We don't even know the severity of it. People are getting sick, but they're not dying. So maybe it's okay. Maybe it's not right. There's a lot of confusion around how it is and how we work and how we operate in the world that was once we took for granted. And then there started to be race
mm-hmm,
protests where people that were black and brown started to stand
mm-hmm,
up and say, I don't know, I don't think you guys really respect me or hear me. And how important it is for this persona of a guy with a white body to really learn from my brothers and sisters who are different colors.
mm-hmm.
And why should the color of a skin mean we treat somebody different than the color of another skin? And I watch the world operate. In America now, perhaps the most obvious place is in the division of political parties. But it can be in medicine, it can be in education, it can be in relationships, it could be in women's rights to be a woman, and whatever it is. There's so many places that it raises its head. But for ease, I want to talk about politics, not because I care what political point of view you have, but we elect leaders to lead our country.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see leadership right now, not because there aren't people that are leading, but because no one has the right, no one has the courage to stand up against the silo that they're in and say, these are beautiful things that are happening, but these are terrible things that we're doing also.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the pro-Trump movement, nobody has the courage to say, some of the things you've done have been fabulous, but like the way you treat people is abysmal. You just can't do that. And in the Democratic camp, it's no that better. They don't give him even a bone. Like they don't give him credit for doing anything good. And so every time he turns a corner, he gets smacked in the face with a wooden board. And he just says, come on, I didn't do everything bad. I did this and I did this and I did this. And it only makes him stand up and defend himself more. And I'm neither pro Trump or against Trump. What I'm looking for is, where are those leaders that we thought we elected
Mm-hmm.
that can lead towards a higher reality of unity, of truth that will bring us all together, rather than just staying in our camps and our silos? And I think it happens in so many different areas. So, being that you're a leader, do you think you have the power or the courage to stand up against the momentum of the throngs of what people believe,
Mm-hmm.
and lead towards and lead into truth?
Mm-hmm. When I answer that question, the feeling I had was that I'm a leader of my every action.
Okay.
I didn't come from a place of I am the leader of however many people, or I have influence or power over a certain amount of people. So it was like, I clearly have power within me to choose and to engage outwardly in a way where I feel like, I wouldn't say I feel like I'm in control, because how much control do you really have? But it's
Right.
like I take responsibility for aligning to what I know to be right within me. Because the moment I don't listen to myself, the moment I ignore my own feelings, even like with, for example, just relationship with Jachym, that's where we really went wrong. The moment I didn't listen to the alarm bells when I said, "Oh, that doesn't matter," or like, "Oh, you're expecting too much. Like, stop even engaging with that. That's too much, or that doesn't matter." The moment I let that go and disregard myself and start ignoring things within me, I stop leading completely. I
Yeah.
become extremely passive. And then I can't even show up in the world in a way where I do the right things for myself.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw the leadership when you answer the question. But I think that is also key in solving the world's issues.
Yeah, you're right on point with me, because I love the way you approach the answer to the question. And the second question still holds.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have the courage to stand up to your own
Mm-hmm.
moment, against
Yeah.
your own momentum,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say something just because I'm an empath and I feel it. It doesn't mean it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not true, take it and throw it away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel you. And I feel something in you that wants to be bigger than you're allowing yourself to be.
Mm-hmm.
Way bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for that to come out, you have to take the chains off of the concept of what you believe leadership is,
Mm-hmm.
and allow the leader of the small microcosm of yourself to become the same leader of the macrocosm of the world that is
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe we are the world, right?
Yeah.
And so, in the same way you lead yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
also lead others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the world is hungry now for leadership that has the courage to look at itself and say, boy, I fell down there,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to get back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I want to pass this by you and see what you think of it, because I don't advocate this one-sided communication where this is what I'm for, this is where I think we should all go, and now you follow me type
Right.
of leadership. That doesn't make any sense to me,
Me either.
because that would be a blind engagement from the people who so-called follow. What does make sense to me is when I know something to be true within me, And I let that not be loud, but be present outwardly, either through conversation or however I communicate. And if that has a resonance within other people's hearts or their current reality, then they can hop on board and we do it together.
Yeah.
So that sounds like the type of leadership or the type of movement that would actually work.
Yeah. I'm
Mm-hmm.
100%. When I wrote the Mosaic, one of the things it showed me was we are in a modality switch. The
Mm-hmm.
paradigm of a vertical reality is over or is falling apart. You can see it. Everything that has verticality to it is disintegrating. The church, education systems, government, medicine. The world that we're living in will no longer be the world we're living in soon. There's a new reality, a new paradigm that's trying to be initiated, and I call it a mosaic reality paradigm. There is no verticality in a mosaic. It's simply in the process
Mm-hmm.
of coming together with other pieces, broken and whole, big and small, but in the co-joining of ourselves together with each other, magic happens. We create something different than we ever could imagine. Not because we're changing anything or fixing anything or leading anybody, but the leadership comes in the complete abandonment of what we think we are as a piece when we merge with another piece. And I'm particularly interested in it because of the work that you do. In working with couples, part of the power of working with couples, in my understanding, would be when the couple goes from the two to the one, when that alchemy of relationship happens, where you and I disappear and we just become the one. That's the world that we want to live in right now. That's the world that I'm trying to help initiate. Part of the reason I'm doing these conversations secretly,
Not anymore,
not
secretly.
anymore, is because I want people to understand that we don't need to fix each other or change each other. We have self help people helping. We have leaders leading. We have government guiding. We have fixers fixing. We have teachers teaching. That world is over in my mind. Why would it ever be that one person speaks to a group of 500 or 1,000 or 10,000 people when 10,000 people collectively have much more knowledge than the one person could ever do? Why wouldn't we allow the 10,000 to speak to all of us? The microscope has to turn around and we have to see the people rather than the leaders in every aspect of what's going on in life. Part of when I sat with your soul before, as I was sitting there listening to you, I heard the answer that you told me before you told me. Because it's your ability to step down from a throne and to just commingle. It's, in essence, what we have to do is make love to each other. Not physically. I'm not talking about creating orgies all around the world. But I'm talking about the idea of the unity and the union of what happens when we become we. In America, we started our Constitution with "we the people." It started with a "we." The first word of it is "we." I don't think we know what that world looks like. I don't think we ever have. It's time for us to create that world. Your thoughts?
I know that the old paradigms are crumbling down. I see that too. But in terms of everyone leading, I don't think it's possible. I have an example. I mean, at this current moment, it would be an ideal world when we can bring forth what truly resonates with us truly important to us, but I don't think many people know that. So, for example, in Switzerland, where I live with Jachym for half a decade, they have direct democracy. So all the time, he'll get a little letter. It's like, okay, today I have to vote on 10 things. So direct democracy meaning as long as, I think, how many signatures is it? Someone can always propose, oh, I gather however many thousand signatures to support a certain idea or a cause to change a certain policy, and then the government will actually consider it. And then if they do, then it will become a vote for the citizens to then make a choice altogether, right? There are different issues, but then they can then vote, and then in the end, whatever outcome that would be, they'll actually implement that. So what I have seen is that if we all together vote on certain things, so then our voices are heard, right? It's kind of what you said earlier. Why don't we allow our voices to contribute to the leadership of a certain country or to guide a greater direction? So many times as individuals, we don't know either. And we're not informed, and
Yeah.
we begin to, and there's this, what did you call it? It's not like the whole country has a bias, or maybe they do. It's But then I feel like sometimes the majority of the population does have a fear, for example, to lose their jobs or for the economy to not go well. Or, for example, I'll give you a concrete example. There was a vote once upon a time, probably within the last decade, where they tried to pass more vacation time. I can't give you the exact numbers, but it was
Yeah, it's
like maybe
okay.
two more weeks, maybe from 3 weeks to 5 weeks. It wasn't like, wow, let's take 3 months off per year. But it's like, okay,
Right.
let's just extend the vacation time 2 more weeks or 1 more week. Something, in my opinion, like not that much of a difference. But it's like, okay, let's get more vacation, guys. We're working too hard.
Right.
So that's what they tried to pass in Switzerland. And then in the end, the vote was that, no, we don't want more vacation. Let us
Yeah.
keep working hard. And 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 that blows my mind, because Switzerland, when I arrived to Switzerland, there was a really high suicide rate.
Hmm.
And very often going to work, we hear, oh, this train's not running, there's a personnel accident there, which means
Yeah.
someone killed themselves. and
Yeah.
and, and so I could see certain patterns within the country. People, when I arrived, I think the CEO of Swisscom committed suicide also. So it was within the conversation that people were too stressed at work. There's burnout. It was a conversation already. And
Yeah.
then they tried to pass this law, and everyone said, let us keep working. We don't
Right.
need breaks. So
Right.
I wonder, where is that answer coming from? And from the mass majority, what are they thinking and what are they believing that they came to that conclusion? I'm not judging them. I'm just saying
No.
there's already conversation, but yet that's their choice.
Yeah.
So together, each individual made that choice. Not everybody, but many. So what
I
does that say?
I love your question, and I love your inquisitive mind, and I love your question. Your like where that's taking us. Um, I'm not asking for votes. I'm not asking for signatures.
Mm-hmm.
What I believe is there's a new mindset that's going to come,
Mm-hmm.
and there are people that I'm doing some work with right now. They're out of Stanford University, one of the big universities in America, but not just big. Smart. These guys are smart. Um, and they did a study where they looked at primitive cultures and cultures that weren't smart enough to make decisions on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And they realized that they came together in a swarm and they made decisions together.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at a flock of birds fly,
Mm-hmm.
they're not following a leader. They're in a collective mind moving together because the
Mm-hmm.
movements are too exact and there's not enough time to follow. Someone would go out of sync, but they're operating on one mind. When you watch a swarm of fish swim, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch bees decide where to build their nest, they're not smart enough to figure it out, and their very existence depends on where they put their nest. So they send bees out thousands of directions, and they bring them back, and you can see they come in like a little huddle, and they vibrate together,
Mm.
and they vibrate against each other, and they move it to the left, and they move to
Yeah.
the right, and where they come to no resistance is where they go to build their hive. He wondered, can we get the human mind who thinks from a vertical reality,
Mm-hmm.
who thinks in an opposition reality where we vote
Mm-hmm.
on something? Well, by the
Yeah.
very nature that we vote against something or for something, and so
Mm-hmm.
there's no collectivity there.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get the human mind to think in a swarm mentality?
Mm-hmm.
And they asked people to challenge them with something that they could prove. So one of the big news stations here said, we want you to pick the winners of the Kentucky Derby, big horse race here. We want you to decide not only the winner, we want you to pick first, second, third, and fourth. And let's see how big your system is. Don't you guys think you're so smart? Let's see if you can do it. And the people said, gosh, we don't know if we'll be able to do it, but what a great test, because there's an end date. We know that we'll bring the people together, they'll make a decision, and when they run the Kentucky Derby, we'll know if we were right or wrong. So they brought 40 horse enthusiasts together in a virtual room. There was an octagon in the middle of the room, and on the points of each point of the octagon was one of the horses running in the Kentucky Derby. In the center of the room was a puck, and the 40 people would use their mouse as a magnet to draw the puck towards the horse that they thought would win. And they asked them, before we do this, we want you to write on a piece of paper, who do you think individually is going to come in first, second, third, and fourth? Don't tell anybody what you're doing. But they were in different rooms all across the country, so they couldn't see it anyway. So they wrote individually what they thought. They came into the room. They said, okay, when we tell you to go, we're going to ask you who's going to come in first, and use your mouse as a magnet to pull the puck towards where you're going. And you could see the magnet moved a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, but collectively they came to a decision. They did the same thing for second, third, and fourth. A $20 bet on the results that these 40 people got produced an $11,000 reward. They picked against 586 to 1 odds the trifecta results. So they went back and they thought, oh, this people must have known somehow who was going to win. And they
Mm.
looked at their individual cards. Nobody picked the horse to come in first. Nobody picked the horse to come in second. One person out of the 40 picked the horse that came in third to come in third, and nobody picked the horse to come in fourth. What they proved in that situation and many others since, now they've created like a gambling site because they've seen how successful they are with conclusive results and how much they think better than experts and leaders in the field. And they said, collectively, we think smarter, bolder, better.
Mm-hmm.
We take more risks and we make better decisions when we do it together. So I went to them and I said, okay, that's great if you want to make a lot of money. Do you think what you're doing would work with social issues? What would happen if we asked people what social issues they want to solve? Do they want to solve homelessness, hunger, global warming? You choose. We choose eight things, or we choose 10 things, or 12 things, and we keep choosing. And we ask people how they would go about solving those things, and we let them choose again. My goal one day is to start the Mosaic Swarm. And in order to be a member of the Mosaic Swarm, we're going to ask $1 a month membership, because I think that's a number most people can afford. Now, there are people in distant countries that can't afford that. That's like $1 billion. But there's some people here and in wealthy countries where some people might be able to give $10 or $100 a month to support some of our brothers and sisters who can't do it and give them scholarships in. And my goal is to get a minority of 1 billion people to come into these rooms and to choose what solutions, what problems they want to create solutions to, how they want to solve those problems. And we'll use the $1 billion a month that we get to fund the solutions that we come up with. Now, we might not get it the first time or the second or the 10th, but even if it takes us 10 times to get the right answer and to make
Mm-hmm.
the needle move, all you've invested is $10 and all I've invested in $10. And we don't have a board of directors because we are the board of directors. We, the people, are the ones that are making the decisions for what we want to see solved, how we solve them, and how we invest our money. So I believe if I can come up with that, there are other people that can come up with even better solutions that don't look at the way we're doing the modality of we're doing, because I guarantee you, if people have to vote or get signatures or go or create new, that's just the old system operating in the old system. We need a new system that makes the old system obsolete, as Bucky Fuller said. Your thoughts?
No, that's a great way to put it, because that's exactly what happens. Once there's a vote going on, there are posters everywhere with like a little devil on top of a train. I don't know if they're supposed
Right.
to, like, just both sides create caricatures
Yeah.
of those scenarios, and then suddenly you're in the middle trying to decide between two devils, and
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Yeah. Votes create opposition. Collective mind, there is no opposition.
Mm.
And that's what I think, there's models like that that will come into place. And the way they come in place is by having no ulterior motive, by by just being by just surrendering into the consciousness of the group mind, by stepping off the throne, by leading from within, by just leading yourself to be clean and pure and open to allow the group energy to move us through, the collective mind to enter us and make those decisions.
Yeah.
We got
I,
way
I
off. We got way off track, but I'm interested. What were you going to say?
I know a friend of mine, she did a thesis in school where, what exactly was she studying, but I just know the results,
Right.
where it's about communicating, and how I agree with you that something needs to go, whether it's the ego or your agenda that you believe is the right thing and the only way, that needs to go. Because what she did to her experiments went something like this: she had a musician come in and play music, I don't know, for maybe half an hour, and she would tell them, all you play is a certain color. That's it. That's
Yeah.
what you're communicating through this music, whether it's a drum or some instrument. And then she would, and they would not say that out loud, however. And then she would get a bunch of artists, say painters, they would come in and she'd say, listen to this music and draw or paint what it is that you interpret from it. And
Love it.
what would happen is that they knew somehow, right? Their agenda of, oh, what I know to be the right thing to paint right now, that softened. They let go of that in order to listen and surrender to the music, which was without words. There's no verbal communication. They turned into that, and then they painted. And I think the result was at least more than 90% at the time. They always painted in the color, in what they were playing in terms of music. So we are listening to one another. We are understanding. We can hear what's beneath everything, but something needs to go, because it wouldn't occur in the way that current conversations are going, which is more like a
Yeah.
spiral out of control than this surrendering of the ego in order to actually create and listen and find an understanding together.
So for me, here's the beauty of what we're doing right now. It's the beauty of this room. We're two strangers. We have no idea about each other. Yet by spending a few minutes together, something has already gone. I feel you in me, and you probably feel some of me in you. And it's not anything other than just the commingling of two spirits. And we don't have to make it so serious. We just have to come together, because the very nature of coming together allows us to do that, as opposed to voting, which sets us apart,
Mm-hmm.
which allows us to stay ourselves. And so it's this process of just this beautiful union of two souls and what that does. And it's not a union of two souls. It can become a union of thousands of souls, of millions of souls, when we hold the space for millions of souls to enter. And millions of souls hold the space for us to enter. And it's happening. It's not only happening in this crazy magic Zoom room, it's happening all across the world. What do you think the world's trying to say to us right now?
Probably listen more.
You could be a disciple of the Mosaic. I mean, you could take the Mosaic and start offering its little teachings. I love that. Is that what you really think or feel?
Right this moment, you said, yeah,
Yeah.
in this moment, I think it's more listening that
Yeah.
we're asked to do.
And what do you think the world is asking you personally to do right now?
Nothing differently.
What does that mean, actually? That you should just continue doing what you're doing?
In this current moment, yes.
Okay. How about outside of this moment, when you're not longer in this room?
Okay.
What's the world asking you? If you could think about all that's going on in this world and it has a message for the world, which is to listen, it would make sense it would have a message for each one of us also.
Mm-hmm.
What would that message be? Because I know in this minute you feel what I feel, which is this moment is perfect. There's nothing has to be anything different.
Mm-hmm. What is the world asking me? It definitely choose more love.
Yeah.
Because I see a great difference when I don't. It creates a lot of conflict and stress and drama. Yeah.
Yeah. And it would be hard for me to know you in those moments because in this room, all you've shown is love. But I'm going to believe you when you say that that's not what you always do. But it's not my experience of you, is all I'm saying in the less than an hour that I've spent with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have 1 minute. What do you want to say to the world?
I guess the questions that people often ask and feel like they need an answer to, if you stop engaging with the questions and stop obsessing over what the answer should be and going back to what the world needs and just listen. And once you listen, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but if it does become clear that there is a way or there's a voice that's guiding you more towards love, which was my own, what the world is asking of me, then follow that. No matter how little sense it might make to the mind in terms of reason and all that kind of stuff, follow the one where it feels like it's leading you to more love. Because I can promise you that would be the answer. It's not chasing after the answer that you think you need. It's listening to something else.
I can't think of a better way to close than that statement right there. How do people get in touch with you if they've been intoxicated with you like I have? How would they reach out to you?
You can find me at yourexceptionalrelationship.com.
Okay. And will you send me any social media links and anything that you have, plus your website? And will you send me your headshot also so I can put it on the cover and include it in the notes? Natasha, thank you so much for taking your time and being with me. What an honor to have a chance to meet another stranger and have such a deep, deep, heartfelt connection with somebody, with you. For those of you listening, I hope you see how beautiful each one of these conversations is. And in this one in particular, I hope you can feel how the words are almost superfluous to what the feeling was. The words occupy our mind and make it beautiful for us to listen to. But as you listen to it, perhaps a second time, let the words just fill your mind and let the feeling of what's going on here touch your heart and your soul. I think what the work Natasha does and the work that I do and the work that my wife does are very, very similar. So if you feel drawn to any of us or to someone else, reach out to strangers because we're all reaching out for you because you and I are the same. I have a developmentally delayed daughter. And I say to her, you know why we love each other? And she goes, why, Daddy? And I say, because you and I are. And she says, the same. And we're the same. So if this has inspired you, please share it with other people. If it's inspired you even further, why not have the courage to go up to someone you don't know and start a conversation? Or invite them into your magic room and hold the space for people to just be themselves and share with them. What I'm finding more and more is the more space I hold for people to be themselves, the more they hold that space for me to be myself too. And in the coming together, what doesn't belong leaves, and what does belong creates magic. Thank you again, Natasha. Is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Thank you for modeling what you want to see in the world. I think people can hear it and feel it. So thank you for doing that for me today.
My honor. And thank you for doing it for me today, too. So, with a ton of love for you, with a ton of love for those of you who listen, thank you so much. Share this, play with it, speak to someone you don't know. And until the next stranger comes along, don't be a stranger. Ciao.